Well, thank you, Tony. That seems to be a very common problem. I forget to hit my mic button, but I did that time. It shows I've got sound going now. If that's not the case, let me know. But otherwise, I think I'm good. And a little bit of feedback. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Tony. Appreciate the heads up. Who knows how long I would have speak into the void. Let's get this party started. This very last remains of my banana punch. Excuse me, banana punch. This bag is for you. Rhode Island Hiker, how are you, man? Good to see ya. Things are going well here at Wheats HQ. How are things up in the, shit, I can't remember what state you are. The Granite State? No, is that New Hampshire? Godzo Baptist, welcome back, my friend. Long Beach local. How's everyone doing out there? I think I have unmuted now, Godzo Baptist. If you started from the stream at the beginning, I am back. Fixed my muted problem, hit my on live button, and here I am. Hopefully no longer, Godzo Baptist. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. If not, I think other people say that they can. Grovel, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. And our first bag, nice and easy for our first commenter, Tony Days. The Ocean State. Well, that has to make sense, Rhode Island Hiker. I would guess as a function of both the actual surface area of Rhode Island, of course its location on the eastern seaboard, and then the fact that there are a lot of islands. You know, the state isn't an island, but there are a lot of islands that the state owns. If I had to guess, Rhode Island would proportionally make up the state with the most coastline of any state in the contiguous United States. Because if you went outside the contiguous United States, surely it would have to be Hawaii, obviously. And possibly Alaska? No, surely not. Alaska's huge, too huge. But let me guess, Rhode Island, proportionally, in the contiguous United States, has the most coastline of any state. If it happens to be Delaware, fuck you, Delaware. Well, Godzo Baptist had his audio probs worked out. Glad to hear it. Rhode Island Hiker, we'll do this next bag for you for dropping the knowledge bomb on us on your letting us know that Rhode Island is the ocean state. So let's get to it. Oh, I was doing the angry mom pose again. I'm gonna learn to keep my hands at my side. Bag number 2 for Rhode Island Hiker. This is for you. It was grovel. I know. I so apologize for the heads on the hips. Like I blame my inner hockey mom and my impatience and lack of, or my willingness, not my lack of willingness, my total willingness to yell at 16-year-olds for things that aren't their fault. Basically, if you have those traits, you have a sort of genetic inherent disposition to stick your hands on your hips and look like an asshole. They just go hand in hand. Genetics. Weird. Stephanie, welcome back. Glad to see you are here as well. Rhode Island Hiker, as this is his bag, is also letting us know that he got the Puffco Plus, and I've been loving it for dabbing while camping. And Rhode Island Hiker thinks that Rhode Island is the smallest state as well. That is absolutely true, regardless of contiguous or not. You're certainly smaller than Hawaii even. Rhode Island, very, very, very small. A lot of those early 13 colonies, pretty small. You know, your Vermonts, New Hampshires, Delawares. They didn't make them big then. Then they hit that continental divide and, well, shit, you got yourself some Wyomings and, well, I guess Texas is part of it's on one side of the continental divide and the other. I don't know. I'm not a geography major. This isn't a geography show. This is about weed. Welcome. Pedestrian says, your brother is the Jesus guy, right? That's pretty epic. Pedestrian, well, welcome. My brother, I do have a brother, more than one. Neither of them are Jesus. Now, I do know a Jesus who is not my brother, but he is not my brother, nor... I'm not sure where that even came from. I think there's probably photographic evidence of me out there with a famous Jesus on the internet, a famous internet Jesus, but not actually my brother. My brothers are much squarer. Tony said he watched Room 237 and it had some pretty out there theories, but it was entertaining nonetheless. Tony, I'm so glad you watched it. That's so awesome. I'm really glad to hear that you checked it out. And yes, I think kind of the point of the documentary to a degree is not necessarily on how outlandish the theories are, but that and how much we invest in those theories and how much. And I think the guy is the director, which we forgot his name again. Is intentionally a little slippery about what he's trying to say about these people, whether he thinks they're kooks or whether he thinks they're, sort of a brilliant film critics in their own right. He doesn't lay his hand on the scale too hard to let you know what he thinks, but he presents them. Lets the authors or the perpetrators of these theories speak for themselves. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, by the way, I realize I should fill you in. Tony, on our last conversation, we got to talking about Stanley Kubrick, and I recommended a documentary called Room 237, which is a documentary about a guy who interviews a bunch of people who have very elaborate theories on what The Shining means. And it's a very interesting documentary, cool visual style. He sort of puts all these theories to different images. And again, they're, as Tony said it himself, they're out there. Whether he thinks there's merit to them or not, I think he leaves more up to you than to himself, which is usually the sign of a good documentary. Sometimes you do need the person to put their finger on the scale, depending on the situation. But in a situation or a documentary like that, which is, hey, let's let these people present their ideas, I think the dude does a fine job of letting those ideas speak for themselves. Okay, sorry, Tony, thank you so much for watching it. I am glad you were entertained. Mr. Nimoy, well, welcome, Mr. Nimoy. I am back. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll finish this bag that we're working on for Rhode Island Hiker. And as you are our first and newest guest, we'll do the next one for you, Mr. Nimoy. We're big Spock fans here. Larry David said, oh my God, Larry David, giving me an opportunity, said, less cerebral than what Tony was watching, but arguable. He and his wife watched Party Down on a recommendation here, and he mentions they are making a new season. Yes, and the trend of everything comes back. My beloved, beloved, beloved Party Down. It's maybe the first show my wife and I watched together. Partner, I think I usually say my wife, like 13 years ago or something. An incredible show about a catering company in Los Angeles, starring the ever-present and what would you describe him? Internally beloved, now I'm forgetting, Adam Scott, the dude from Parks and Rec and Severance, and you know Adam Scott. He's got cool hair. He is a failed actor, sort of, famous for one commercial, Budweiser commercial, and doesn't do anything for many years, and has to get another job, and goes to a catering company. Truly, truly wonderful TV. There's only like 16 episodes across 2 seasons. Check it out. You can feel really cool, and you can say, oh, I was a big fan of this before this new season came out. But I'm always wary of requels, I love that name, which came from Scream 5, a requel in its own right from earlier this year. I find myself, like, I'm so excited Party Down is back, but at the same time, it's like, wow, Party Down was this utter slice of wonderful ephemera that came and went and was encapsulated in these 2 great seasons, and that's all it ever was, and it's all it ever will be. But instead, we may get ourselves another Arrested Development, which I never even managed to make it through the whole first rebooted season. Oh boy, Arrested Development. Wow, so many shows and things resurrected for increasingly small niche groups of audiences. I don't know. I guess they make a lot of money. They must, otherwise why do people keep doing them? I just wonder how often people are satisfied with them. Because boy, are there a lot. Anyways, but I am so glad, Larry David, that you checked it out. Great show. My wife and I still, to this day, we talk about our Ron Donald don'ts, our RDDs, and it continues. I think I probably rewatched Party Down, I don't know, less than a year ago. It's just that good. Okay, thank you for that, Larry David. The No Belt Blues. Oh man, I hope it's good. I hope the Party Down reboot, requel, let's bring it all back is good. Rank Squid says, your voice exactly matches how you look. You also look a bit like Jared Leto. Well, thank you for hanging out with us, Rank Squid, on Twitch, if you are still there. And I'm not sure how to take the you look like, kind of like Jared Leto. I think I'll take it as a compliment. He's in a band, and he's Morbius. Dogs are walking, knocking things over. Let's finish up this bag as I've been promising. I can get a bag for Mr. Nimoy. I've been gone for a couple of days. Last weekend I went to Joshua Tree, just kind of a last second thing, met some friends out there from where I used to live, and not my first time to Joshua Tree, but man, still a really cool place. All right. Mr. Nimoy, this bag is for you. It is, in fact, Morbin time here on the stream. It might not ever happen in the movie, but it happens here on Wheat's live streams. We straight go into Morbin time. Meme du jour. Hair in my face. Jesus, Morbius, Christ. I can't believe Sony thought it was a wise move to re-release it in theaters. I guess I don't need to kick a dead horse while it's down. Everybody's had their fun with Morbius, including me. I did see it in theaters opening weekend, as I see everything. One more shout out to AMC, whatever you call their movie pass. Long time customer. Never will cancel. Anyways, I did see Morbius open weekend, like everybody, or I guess like a very small number of people, in fact. Oh my God, girl, relax. My dogs are all freaked out still. They also got to go on this trip, and I thought taking them out to the desert and throwing a frisbee. Shh, you're gonna have to get escorted out of here, girl. Is that what you want? Excuse me. I'll take care of this real quick. Take it. And now you're locked out. You see what happened? Rank Squid said, though, my Jared Leto look is a compliment. Glad to know it. I was going to say big 30-Second to Mars fan, but I'm not sure I know an actual song of theirs. I did like Jared Leto in that Gucky movie that came out last year, the story of Gucky. Thought he was good in that. I know people hated him, but I loved his big dumb accent. He's really bad in Blade Runner. The only bad part about the new Blade Runner. Anyways, let's not talk about Jared Leto too much, other than the fact that I look like him. Cool. A less handsome version of Jared Leto. An even more should we, cross the sidewalk to avoid him version of Jared Leto. 30-Second to Mars. Okay. Let's stop talking about Morbius. Saw it. Bad Morbius. I said something about Joshua Tree. There's not a lot to say about Joshua Tree. If you've been, you understand. If you don't, there are plenty of other wonderful national parks that aren't Joshua Tree. I've been to so many of our national parks. Unfortunately, I did most of them at an age where I wasn't old enough to quite appreciate them as much as you would like, but I've been most everywhere in the United States in terms of national parks. So take this from somebody who has some experience. Zion, Bryce Canyon, they're both pretty close to each other. Then like the shit in the Northern Plains states is way more cool and interesting than you would think, like the Badlands and Teddy Roosevelt. The Grand Canyon is pretty great, but there are other cooler canyons that you don't have to do as much both traffic and shitty walking. One of the hottest I've ever been was I was like 13 or 14 and hiked the Grand Canyon. You started at like 4:30 in the morning when it was dark and make it all the way to the bottom, and it takes you like 5 hours. And unfortunately, you then have to walk back up. It started at like 50 degrees, and then by the time you make it to the bottom, it's like 100, and you have to finish by walking up hill in much hotter weather. Sucks. Go do Bryce Canyon instead. Cooler things, just as cool things to look at. But, you do you. National parks, they're great. do them before they go away. Or something. Okay. Danny, welcome. Danny says, dude, do edibles still hit? I use that decarb machine, FR. Not sure what FR is, but yes, the edibles still hit. Still hit quite nicely. Had some on my trip to Joshua Tree. And I use my Ardent Nova, which is my decarb machine, still pretty frequently, but I have probably a half pound of decarbed weed already built up because my butter maker broke a while ago, and I haven't bought anything to replace it, and I need to do that so I can use all my decarbed weed. But yes, edibles still the best way to go. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us, Danny310. Grovel with the intriguing theory that Morbius was just too far ahead for us to understand. That may very well be true. If I could remember the movie well enough to make a bad joke about Morbius's whatever vague set of powers he had, I would have tried, but I would have failed just as much as that movie did at the box office. Okay. Tony says, what are your thoughts on Jackass? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So glad you asked, Tony. I'm an unabashed Jackass fan. I have never understood the cultural critics who've decried Jackass since its inception as the harbinger of the end of Western civilization because of how utterly crass it is. I mean, we've had prank shows for forever. But I watched Jackass first when I think I was in middle school, probably 7th grade. The first time I heard of it, a friend recommended it to me, checked it out. I came very close to pissing my pants laughing, I'm sure. Was a super fan forever. Literally own the series on iTunes, like the actual Jackass. When they first came out with videos on iTunes in like 2005, I bought the Jackass series. Of course, seen all the Jackass movies. One of the few things I've ever pirated in my life is the Jackass 3D Blu-ray, because you can't actually get the 3D Blu-ray in anything other than the bizarro, like, anaglyph 3D, like the red and blue glasses, which is not how it was presented in theaters, although they had a version that way. But there is actually a 3D Blu-ray file out there because it was on some streaming service for a long time, and somebody, of course, pirated it. So I love Jackass. Love Jackass 4. And the crassest thing there is to say about Jackass is what I'm going to say, which is it's only gotten better since BAM. The worst part about Jackass since its inception, the only person who never seemed to get the ethos of Jackass, which is the prank is on you just as much as it is on anybody else, never seemed to jive with the fact that, like, I don't know, you just never had the emotional intelligence that the other Jackass members had. And so not sad to see him go. Getting kicked in the nuts is hysterical. Fart jokes are hysterical. Practical pranks, when done in such an elaborate and cartoonish and ingenious fashion, it deserves to be revered and not mocked. Love Jackass. I kind of hope that the crew really is done, because I don't think they could probably take another one. I don't think that's all viral marketing when they're like, oh shit, Johnny Knoxville, lost some bone matter in his skull. But still, I think Jackass is good fun, good Christian, clean fun for everybody. Nobody should ever have a bad word to say about Jackass. And you can tell that I'm not the only one that feels this way. I always find it amazing that Spike Jonze shows up in the movies all the time. He's usually like the old lady, but different rules. Spike Jonze, incredible director of the second best movie ever made, adaptation, Her, Being John Malkovich, Fatboy Slim music videos, and he's hanging out with the Jackass crew. Love it. Great question. So glad to talk about Jackass and pour one out for Ryan Dunn. This bag was for our friend, Mr. Nimoy, but it's also a little bit for Ryan Dunn. Okay. Coffee Bean, welcome back. Coffee Bean says, I forgot Jackass is out. I haven't seen it yet. I only know him from that teenage series. Not sure what that's reference to. But yes, Jackass 4, been out for a while. And if you have access to a 3D viewing receptacle, whether that's an old 3D TV or a VR headset, seek out that pirated version of Jackass 3D. The shit cloud and flying dildos coming at you. Chef's kiss. Beautiful stuff. Okay. Grovel says, did I see the Black Adam trailer? I heard that it was out. I'm not sure if I've ever done this rant before, but good time for it. I don't watch trailers. It sucks because I see every movie ever made, as many movies in theaters as I can. But I never watch trailers unless I absolutely cannot avoid it for some reason. Going to an AMC, there's this awful telltale sign that the movie's about to start. You hear Nicole Kidman talk to you about how great going back to the movies is. It's this god-awful fucking video they've shown for a year straight. Sorry, Nicole Kidman. I'm sure you're wonderful. But I've literally seen this thing probably 150 times. So I just wait out in the lobby until I hear Nicole Kidman tell me how great it is to be back in the movies. And then I go in, and I go to my reserved seat, and it's wonderful. Grovel, I'm so curious, by the way, and to anybody else not in the Southern California or wherever you're from, I'm just curious what the movie theater experience is like there. When I moved to Southern California, I had never been to a theater with reserved seats nor recliner chairs, and here both of those are definitely the norm and not a rare exception. Although I think that is beginning to spread and more theaters are adopting that model. I'm curious, Grovel, I think North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, if you go to the movies, are you reserving a specific seat, and does your chair recline? Is it a power recliner? Again, if you go to the movies in Southern California, that is the expectation now. But no, I haven't. I've seen that the Black Adam trailer is out. Didn't watch it because try not to watch any trailers because after you've seen so many movies and so many trailers, you start to sort of see the underlying patterns of how all of these things are processed and made out there, and you can so quickly, so incredibly quickly, and I don't know if they're getting better or worse because I haven't watched a trailer in years, but I had to stop because the linear nature that trailers structured themselves after got so ridiculous that it basically, for years, trailers just followed the plot of the movie. They were kind of a 2-minute condensed version of the plot of the movie, which you hoped, though, that the conclusion was omitted from the trailer, but it wasn't always. Sometimes it was just a 2-minute Cliff Notes summary of the movie that you were going to presumably pay to see in the future. So I said, enough, no more. And I'd been doing that for video games for a lot longer. They're an even worse industry for their pre-release practices. At least with the movies, you genuinely see what you get in the trailers. Although you would be shocked how much stuff is shot now exclusively for trailers. It used to be a little bit rare, or they would splice things in a weird way. But now there are many things that are shot exclusively for trailers. Video games are always worse in that any sort of pre-release coverage is curated, and rougher parts of the experience can be omitted in ways that movie trailers can only do to a degree. So I stopped watching stuff about video games years earlier, and then probably 5 or 6 years ago, stopped watching movie trailers, and just say to myself, I'm going to see it anyways, which is true. I almost certainly will, so I have not seen Black Adam, is the long answer to your question. Does it look good? Was a very bad DC guy, but now that The Rock is cast as him, they're probably going to have to sort of soft reboot him and make him a stomachable anti-hero for mass audiences, I'm going to guess, is what's going to happen, but I don't know. Okay, boy, I keep promising to finish this bag, and I do not do it. Here we go. Larry David, much earlier with an incredible question that we will get to with our next bag that I love wholeheartedly. Larry David, our Scottish friend, asking, cultural question. Is Minnesota nice a real thing? I'm 3 for 3 and positive so far from personal experience. Well, don't you want to know? We'll get right to that question, gosh. Hopefully don't make that sound too Canadian, but I think there are going to be some similarities there. Let's get to this next bag and talk about it. Oh, Arkansas! Damn it! Sorry, grovel. My bad. Of course, Arkansas. Damn it. I'm so sorry. So, Larry David is asking the great question, is Minnesota nice a real thing, or is that just a thing in pop culture? And I assume he means by that, and I should know better than him, being in the United States, the sort of Francis McDowell in Fargo, the goshes, oh gollies, oh geez, oh shuckses. I guess Fargo is, named for North Dakota, but Francis McDormand, very famous Minnesota accent in that movie. And the answer is, I think, to a degree, yes. In the States, we have an idea of people from the Midwest writ large, which encompasses, things from, like, Ohio to, like, Colorado. And some of that, I believe, is not true at all. I think some of the most awful folks in the country I've ever dealt with are right smack dab in the middle. But there is something very particular about Minnesota that seems to be that I don't know if I know anybody truly from Minnesota, but I know a couple of people who went to school in Minnesota. I know somebody else who, lived and worked there for years, and they are incredibly, truly nice people. They don't just use their P's and Q's. They are truly, genuinely nice, selfless humans. So I'm going to say yes, based on that very little data set. And And there are interesting reasons why Minnesota may be that way. I'm too high to go over them all. It has a very interesting political history here in the United States, which probably isn't safe to talk about. I don't know why that would be. But Minnesota, it's they've got great accents, great people, and a shit ton of lakes, apparently. I've definitely been through Minnesota. But I'm not nice. Okay. I love the question, though. Danny, 310, says, facts. Cool. I hope what I said there was a fact. And I have not dedicated this bag to anybody, so Danny, 310, you are the first up I see. This is for you. Tony says he loves Jackass and doesn't know why. I don't think you have to have a reason to enjoy something that's almost as reptilian as Jackass. Well, that's not so utterly untrue. There's nothing reptilian about humor. It's a very evolved part of our brain. Incredibly mammalian, even primate-driven. But Jackass is always Jackass. You don't have to search your soul for why Jackass is funny. People getting minorly injured in good humor in a way that is here I am overthinking it. Dookie is funny, getting kicked in the nuts is funny, and people who are good friends with each other, joking with each other in a harmless way, usually pretty funny too. That's the theory of Jackass. Mr. Nimoy says, do you still review cannabis products on YouTube? Most weed tubers have left, it seems. I haven't in a while, but I would like to. Again, I just don't have any firm dates or promises until I can get everything back together, but I'd like to at one point. Justin, welcome back. Justin says, oh, holy shit. I am sorry. Just got done token and see that you're live. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Gravel, from Arkansas, my bad, says they have recliner seats at the one I go to there, plus they bring the food to your seat. Ooh la la. That is less common, but those do exist out here. My movie theater does not have that experience. The first time I went out to Los Angeles, I intentionally did seek out one of those theaters. And it was kind of an overwhelming experience because I got extremely high being in Los Angeles and having not been here since I was very young. This was probably 2015, I believe. I think this was 2015. So I got a nice high-dose edible, which weren't common where I was from in East Tennessee. I went to go see a movie, got very high, and I couldn't help but feel like such, like a total fucking slob. It was hard to explain why, but I was like fully in recline, which I had never seen a movie in a recliner, let alone had people bring restaurant-style food to me. But there's something uniquely American and uniquely like Wall-E-ish about laying back full prone in a recliner while ordering food through a fancy menu system and having a person come out to you, deliver it on like a swivel tray over your reclined body while they put things down in front of you and fill out your orders as quietly and as demurely as they can so they don't disturb anybody else, or including you around you. And you're just sitting there absorbing this movie, getting ready to wolf down some really bad for you food. Again, as you're, I was fully prone. I guess I should have probably reclined at that point, but I didn't, and I kind of enjoyed it, but at the same time I was like, boy, this is This seems distinctly Slavish. Doesn't mean I haven't done it since. Uh, I also like gimmicks. I think I've talked about that before. Larry David, I am from Southern California. Not the land of the 10,000 lakes. Is it 10,000? I think. Yes, I love gimmicks. I've often seen people read the think piece online where people will go and try out a 4DX experience, which are these theaters that have rumbling seats, water that squirts in your face, usually putrid smells that come out from around you, and haptic feedback in the ass and back of your chair. And the think pieces that I read are often like, boy, what a great way to ruin whatever, insert X movie. What a great way to ruin Fast and the Furious 9. And then they talk about paying some exorbitant price to see Fast and the Furious 9 in 4DX and how stupid it all is. And to that I say, boo, fuck off. Unless you do you hate it. That's valid. Don't want to yuck your yum. I guess, although you would be... Let's just drop that yuck yum stuff. 4DX is amazing, dude. Why would you not want to see a movie where water squirts in your face and it feels like somebody's groping you from underneath? And I'm not being facetious. It's incredible. That same trip I got too high seeing whatever movie. No, the next time I came out to California, I saw the last Hunger Games movie in 4DX, and it was the first 4DX experience I'd ever had. Similarly, got incredibly high, and there's not a lot that happens in the first hour of that Hunger Games movie. But there is a point about an hour through where the main character gets an attempted assassination of her. She gets shot. She's wearing some body armor or something. I can't remember the details. I was very high. And without any of the rumbling or motors going off, because there was just a lot of boring talking for the preceding hour or so, I had kind of forgotten I was in 4DX. However, in that moment, the little haptics in the back of the chair kicked in, and you felt like a little punch to your back when the bullet hit the character, and I truly jumped, literally, as they say, cartoon style, jumped straight up out of my chair. Loved it. Incredible. Couldn't recommend it more. 4DX. Other movie gimmicks given to me. Oh my god. One of my favorite movie experiences, and I just mean this purely as an experience, not as a movie. As a movie, it is god-awful, wretched, cannot believe anybody thought it was a good idea. To try to tell this very boring retro story. And Ang Lee, what were you thinking? And that movie is Gemini Man. Again, this topic is I love gimmicks and basically everything. I love them. I think they're great. I think more gimmicks. Give me more gimmicks in life. So Gemini Man, awful movie, terrible, terrible movie. It is the movie where Will Smith plays himself and the 20 years younger version of himself, where they de-age him and Will Smith fights baby Will Smith. Terrible movie. However, Ang Lee decided this was going to be the movie he was going to really push some tech with, and it was in 4K, 3D, 120 frames per second in its theatrical release in very select Dolby theaters, and holy shit was it amazing. I forgive you, Peter Jackson. I actually never hated. I watched The Hobbit 3D, 48 frames per second. It took me a while to get over it. I'll admit it. The gimmick took a little bit more convincing there. I can see why people never sort of grok to it with The Hobbit and its 48 frames per secondness. But holy shit, the 4K 3D 120 frames per second Gemini Man, a truly terrible movie, so is The Hobbit, was a amazingly thrilling experience. It almost felt like a theme park ride at points, with how vivid and utterly lifelike it was. Now, it had problems in the fact that they could not hide stunt people anymore. There were a couple of scenes in the movie where, I'm sure it would have looked fine if you had seen it broadcast in traditional 2D, 24 frames per second, but watching it at this insane speed, and at this, ultra crisp resolution, 3D, where anytime they were using a stunt double, which they often would do for a movie where they digitally replace one with the other, you could tell instantaneously it just didn't work. But some of the action sequences, there's this rather banal motorcycle chase sequence in the movie, but shot at such a, again, lifelike resolution and frame rate, made it like you felt it in your chest as if you were riding a ride. It made a dreadfully terrible movie, something that I saw in theaters twice, Gemini Man. It's actually, ever since then, I find watching any movies that have fast-paced action sequences to be lacking. Like, I want them to be in higher frame rates. The amount of clarity that you gain, especially as a sacrifice of, this looks weird, would be totally worth it for anything that has lots of quick movement. I have no idea if there's a way to watch Gemini Man as it was presented in theaters. Again, in 120 frames per second, so, if you have a nice new TV or a fancy computer monitor, you can watch it that way. 4K 3D. I don't think there are any 4K 3D Blu-ray players, and I don't think any Blu-ray disc is going to be able to hold that much information. I mean, I don't know enough, my knowledge of compression is not good enough to tell you, but it would just seem like you'd have to have literally like 6 times the data if you're just going to multiply the frame rate times 6. It's just that many more images that would have to be stored on the Blu-ray, but I don't know. You guys are better at compression than I am, I'm sure. Gimmicks. I love theatrical gimmicks. I don't know why we're talking about that. So, neat. Okay, I have not done any of this bag. Larry, David, sorry, we caught up there. Over. Oh, I forget. Was it Andrea? I hope so. If not, I apologize. Hi, how's everything? Things are great. Forgot this bag is for Danny 310. Let's get to it. Dr. Smegma Jones, welcome back, says, if it isn't the great omnipotent Wheats, I'm awaiting blast off. I just wanted to stop by to say hi and get high. Cheers, my friend. I will puff along on my plug play. Well, thanks for joining us, Dr. Smegma Jones. You know how I love to say your name. Thanks for joining in, hanging out with us. Always glad to have you. And then Grimble Grumble says, bro, your edible reviews have helped me for years. Thanks. Well, I'm so glad to hear it. Thanks for joining us, Grimble Grumble, again. I'm glad I remembered it correctly. I used to have a decent short-term memory. Not so great anymore. It's like there's a correlation between weed and short-term memory usage. I wish I knew as a kid memory hacks. I think I'm just too old. I can do it to a degree. So, I'm sure we've talked about it before here, because we love talking about memory and the Proustian view of the slippery nature of memory. But let's take Proust out of the equation for now. and just talk about memory hacks. And man, I wish I knew as a kid the concept of the memory palace for people who are competitive level memorizers. I don't know what fancy term you would give them, but for people who compete in competitions where they basically memorize a list of integers and see how far you can get and before you make a mistake. There are a lot of those kind of competitions because, of course, there are. Any way that we can distill ourselves down to a easy to digest metric, you better believe we're going to compete over that. So, but if you are in that level and you want to memorize a bunch of shit, the technique is called a memory palace, which is where you basically, in your brain, construct a big old Hilbert's Hotel style palace, a hotel, a palace of infinite rooms to start, where you are going to place, and this is you're going to try to construct an actual physical palace in your brain that you are going to walk from room to room. Now, I think I'm already conflating these things. You want to actually try to make this with as much detail to your own life as possible, like maybe your own house, sticking it in something that you recognize, like a drawer in your house. Basically, the point is you want to pair a thing that you are trying to memorize with a physical location in a physical place that you can remember, and say that this concept, this idea, this number, this color, whatever it is you're trying to remember, lives in this particular area. And then when you are going to remember all of that, you take a tour of the palace in your brain and pick up all the things that you left in the drawers and cabinets and whatever you placed in wherever. And that is the trick for memorizing large sequences of things. I've tried it before in small scale. It doesn't work great for me, but I think I see the utility and how it could help people. But I think I'm just too old and also don't have the sort of capacity to begin with in terms of vast short-term memory. All right, let's finish this bag, get to our next one, which I think will be our final bag for this oven. Inflating. Okay, neato. Oh, I missed your question, Tony. Tony asked if I've ever been to Mexico. Not consciously. I think when I was very young. But I have not been south of the border in my conscious memory. Okay. We're on our next bag here. Let's get to it. Feeling toasty, Mr. Nimoy. Feeling toasty indeed. Later, Grovel. Have a good one, man. We'll see you next stream, I hope. Gonna get through this one nice and quickly, and I'm gonna reset our oven back there before doing a couple last bags with some folks. Beautiful. All right. Next person who comments, I'm too high to come up with a conversation topic all on my own. gets the bag and gets to sort of plant their flag in whatever thing that you may or may not want me to rant about. All right, let's replace our oven here. Replace. Cleaning it out. Okay. Let's grab our bag, see if we have anybody here. Raymond Hitchcock says, love the channel. Well, Raymond, this bag will be for you. And then Andrea had a comment, but I missed it. But I think I saw it, maybe. Thank you for the kind words, Raymond. Oh, and it is also 420, so double good for you. And let's get this bag. Ooh, well, Tony gets the topic. Do you think niche shows are a problem? Help me define niche shows further. Like, niche shows as in shows on the streaming networks that have smaller and smaller audiences, thus, leading to all this fragmentization. That's not a real word. Fragmentation and audiences, I don't even need to go into the theories about what that exactly means. Or do you mean niche shows in terms of things like what would be available on YouTube? People at that level, categorizing or pitching to the smallest markets, the most tiny clicks imaginable. My guess is I think you just mean TV shows in general, but I'm not 100% sure, and I apologize. I can answer the next question way easier, Tony, and that's the one I might just tee up, because talking about niche TV. Holy shit, I am very high already. It's probably a little beyond me right now. So, Tony, this question is for you, but this bag is for Raymond. Thanks for joining us, Raymond. Excuse me. Yes, Tony, I do. Excuse me. Not as much as I should, but I definitely do. The last time I took a tolerance break of an appreciable length would have been, 6 weeks ago, and probably there I took like a 3-day tolerance break. The longest I've gone with it's probably been 6 months or more since I've gone a week or more without doing any THC. But I do it certainly on occasion, and find them to be quite useful in helping reset the tolerance level. Pleasantly, nicely, I find myself with a much lower tolerance level than I used to have, just generally speaking. In Wheats' early days, holy shit, we would do some crazy amounts of THC. But because the early days of crazy high dosage edibles no longer being freely available, it's no longer here, and me doing less, well, practically no reviewing over the past year, means I don't do edibles as frequently, so my general level of tolerance is down overall. But I do tolerance breaks, not as much as I should. I should probably do, average. I would say for me, if I could do 1 week off every 2 months, that would be perfect. But I've never been that. I've never been able to be that consistent. Not even close. But I think that would be my sweet spot. So Tony says the first part. We will go back to it. Do I think streaming services are making all these little shows? Well, we are about to see a reckoning. Like so many things. It seems that streaming was kind of a bubble. Maybe not. We'll see if Netflix can right the ship. I honestly don't think the future looks incredibly good for Netflix. I think they'll still exist 5 years from now, but it won't be as the monolith that they are. Actually, that is even curious. I don't know if Netflix can exist as a smaller company. It might be that the only way Netflix can survive is to be purchased by somebody even larger than them, and then at that point there are not many options, and I would be so curious to know what happens. But Netflix is a company that is built upon basically infinite growth and the idea that your subscriber base is always going to get bigger. The economics were never going to work if the numbers ever not only not got bigger, but as happened recently, contracted. So Netflix is a little different, but yeah, that everybody was chasing this Netflix model, which never really was profitable to begin with, but was perceived to be the next thing, now seems to be crumbling in the fact that there really are only so many people you can sell a subscription to, and then if your model is built upon the fact that you have to eternally keep growing, well, there is a literal fixed ceiling on the number of people you can sell to, and the numbers of that were never going to work. So all of these streaming services have been money-losing endeavors for their parent companies as they try to, do everything to court new subscribers, whether it's very generous onboarding, like get 6 months free, or funding every niche show under the sun to get people subscribing to their services. It seems like some of that stuff has got to end. So do I think niche shows are a problem? I think it was great that a lot of very rich investors were for a while basically making free cool TV shows, subsidizing free cool TV shows for people in the hopes that they would strike it rich in the future. Kind of like the early days of Uber and Lyft, where they would throw free rides and reduced rides and all that shit at you all the time, when they were just hemorrhaging money to try to get people to use the services. And now, those discounts, of course, no longer exist in any capacity. It's like that for streaming. It seems like that's going to be the case. And boy, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing if a lot of these get wiped out. Like, it doesn't feel like that much of a loss to me if Peacock dies. But who am I to say? Let's do this bag. But boy, have I loved a lot of these niche shows myself. Television has been great. great if the quality is to be reduced sometime soon. Or the quantity is to be vastly reduced soon. It would suck, but it was a hell of a run. And there's probably an infinite backlog of really good stuff that you could watch the rest of your life and never run out of cool stuff to watch that's already been produced and exists on these services. So as long as the new model doesn't become, all right, everything is just 10 times more expensive than it was because it costs that much to make this stuff, it should still work out okay. Tony says he misses the 1,000 milligram Korova brownie, the blackout brownie. I miss it too, my friend. I miss it fondly. I know they still continue to sell them in Arizona for a while, but was never able to track one down. I tried actually once. It was going to be a Wheats video thing to like go to Arizona to get a legendary black bar, but they only have medical out there, and it became a hassle, and so it didn't happen. Well, thanks, Mr. Nimoy. It was fun doing the whole LOL edibles thing. I really liked doing those more fun investigative things, and I have a lot of abortive ones too in the pipe. Okay. Here's a fun conspiracy theory that probably isn't relevant to anybody, and I don't think anybody has ever said, but I'm gonna lay it out so it'll be time-stamped here if this ends up being the case. Here's how much I wonder if people are reevaluating streaming, the whole idea of streaming buffet style, take everything you want, everything that's on the service, stream it all for one low price. Cuzco, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. It's time for a conspiracy theory. But one grounded maybe in some kind of reality. So, for several years now, Microsoft has been pivoting their whole video game strategy to the for a long time beloved Game Pass service, which is Xbox's, Microsoft's Netflix type model for video games. All Microsoft first party games are now available on Game Pass on the day that they come out, as long as you pay your Game Pass, I think $15 a month, $10 a month, I can't remember. You get everything that's on it. It has all of Microsoft's first party stuff and a rotating big list of third party stuff, occasionally some big stuff. It has been, I guess, since Halo Infinite, since a big release has come out on it, and a lot of Microsoft's huge releases for this year have all been pushed back till next year. Things from the studios that they have recently purchased, like Starfield, Bethesda's new game, the Skyrim folks, their new game was recently pushed next year. So they don't really have anything on Game Pass, anything huge that we know about coming up for the fall. Leaves them, they had all this momentum and a lot of love built for this service, but now seem to be starving it. So it's I find that whole thing curious. Maybe just a consequence of the coronavirus and all the attendant disasters that came with it. A lot of companies, got behind in things in development, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But the conspiracy theory is, like, a couple weeks ago, it's been long rumored that Microsoft is going to stick out their, Roku-style Xbox. You plug it into your TV's HDMI port, and you can stream everything from an Xbox Series X to your TV using Project xCloud and a little cheap dongle. They've been doing this game streaming stuff for years. They're way ahead of the curve. People love their streaming tech. They've been hinting at this device for a long time. But then, like 2 weeks ago, they came out and said, we're going to actually stop and reevaluate what this thing is. And we're going to come back. We're going back to the drawing board, and we're going to come back with something different in the future. I think people took that to be like, oh, well, maybe something's changed on the tech side. I don't know what that would be. But what if it's Microsoft now is spooked by what happened to Netflix and all of these streaming companies pulling back as fast as they can and think to themselves, well, shit,